up, guys? Hey, if anybody hops on this live with me, can you let me know if you can hear me? So I'm sitting on my patio clearly with the fan blowing. Oh snap, I'm getting a phone call from a friend. Please hold. Hello? Hey. Oh cool. Well, I'm on a live right now, so if I don't answer, just give me like 5 minutes to wrap up the live. I literally just started. You are all good. Alright, bye bye. So you can hear me good, Nicole? It doesn't sound like the fan blowing? Okay, cool. We're gonna jump into this. This was originally I was just gonna make it a little Bonload, which is when I just grab my phone and start talking into it and record it and upload it as a podcast. But I wanted to organize my thoughts because it kind of goes in alignment with the title of this live, which is Why Women Talk So Much. So I've organized some of my crazy, rampant Sunday, relaxation day, spiritual day thoughts, and I want to know if this resonates with you or if this is helpful for you, whether you are a man or a woman. I'm also going to start using the terms masculine and feminine a lot more. Or know that when I'm talking about man or female, that's usually what I'm talking about. To get people's attention, I'll probably say men and women in the title, but once we get into the meat and potatoes, I really mean masculine energy and feminine energy, which we all can have and should have a little bit of both. But anywho, let's jump right into it because I have a friend on the way to deliver some goods, and I want to be respectful of them going out of their way to help me. I'm on the floor as I pulled my hamstring for the third time, and muscles that have been torn once, they're more prone to injury again, especially with it being my dominant leg. So long story short, I'm on the ground because this is the only place that feels good. And I'm really proud of my body for the upper body strength it requires to get up without using my bum. So yay, shout out to exercise for giving me the ability to sit here. But let's jump into it, okay? I was thinking about yesterday why it is that like us women, we go on tangents and we talk so much, and is it a good or a bad thing? And I'm in this season of my life where I'm really leaning into things don't need to be good or bad, they get to be neutral. And this isn't a season thing, this is something I've started embracing the last couple years, but I'm in a season now where I'm seeing it more and really applying it every day a little bit more so than before. So rather than seeing things as good or bad, negative or positive, just really seeing that they're neutral and that us as humans, we have this unique and cool ability to assign meaning to situations. It'll give you a lot more peace in your mind, and it'll also help you live a life that seems a little less chaotic when you stop deeming everything as good or bad. So when we're talking about the energies, feminine and masculine energies, one of the things I want to challenge the ladies of the Mind and Body Collective and anyone else that listens to this stuff is to start viewing things the same way. Rather than seeing, I'm looking at two different cameras, by the way, so this is Instagram, this is Facebook. Rather than seeing things that men do as disgusting or terrible or insensitive or all these other things, let's just view them as neutral, and then maybe take a bit to process and see where they're coming from. That's empathy, right? And same thing with women. We really need this, like as a whole for society, to stop viewing all the things that women do as, the worst versions of us, and maybe take a moment to see where we're coming from, because society is kind of built around the way that men think, and I'm not bashing that. That's just what it is. Especially if you come from a religious background, they didn't, the Bible teaches that women shouldn't be teaching in church, or wearing their hair out, and basically suppressing a lot of our feminine attributes, deeming things as witchcraft that are natural, intuitive gifts of the feminine. So one of the things that we seek to do at Mind and Body is help open up people's eyes to see how just what the world could look like when we have a little bit more feminine input, and that's the mature feminine input, right? Not the wounded feminine, not the entitled little brat, but like the powerful woman in her gifts. So 4-minute intro, hop into it. When it comes to the way that the masculine communicates, it's usually through facts, it's usually through data, and it's usually through information. And that is not something that's objective, right? It's just clear cut, like that's what it is usually when they're relaying information or when they're speaking. You don't have to hear how it made them feel. You don't have to hear how it made them feel. They will just tell you, this is my day, this is what I got done, or this is what's on the to-dos, or this is what I expect. That's the masculine energy, right? And we see that in the way that, it was a good example. I was watching Once Upon a Time, and there was a scene with Captain Hook, and he, in an instant, went from being a good naval captain to switching up and deciding he wanted to be a pirate. And he started laying down all these rules, like, and this is how it's going to be on my ship, and this is what's going on, and blah, 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 blah. And anyone that doesn't believe this can walk the plank or get off the thing, right? It's very, like, clear cut, like, this is what it is. There's no shades of gray in there. And that's how a lot of masculine leadership models over time, over history, that's how they're set up. You don't question, this is just what it is. And instead of me deeming that as bad, I'm going to deem that as neutral, right? And see how that can be positive, and it can also have its downsides to it. Right, just throwing that nugget in from earlier. But anywho, when men communicate, or the masculine communicates, it's usually cut and clear. On the other hand, when us females, when we're communicating, it is 100% like how we feel, right? And that is very subjective. So the masculine tends to communicate with objective figures and qualitative data, or quantitative data, right? Things that are tangible, numbers, like stuff like that. Whereas with us, we're gonna be focusing in on how something made us feel. We're gonna use the subjective way, right? And that means it's gonna come from our emotions. It's gonna come from our intuition. It's going to be how it made us physically feel, right? That's our North Star, is how something made us physically feel. And however, here's the fuckery, right? In this masculine created society, again, if you're just coming in, I'm not bashing masculine, I'm just speaking from like a perspective, like in a world that has been ruled with men in leadership, the majority of male leadership, we've been taught, men and women alike, have been taught to mask it, right? Mask your emotions, right? Tone it down and ignore how you feel, especially as women. And men too. That's why there's so much anger and so much frustration bottled up underneath the surface, because this society, the way that it was created, was taught for all of us to mask, tone down, and ignore how we feel. And for men, that kind of works for them because the way their brains are wired, they're more left side dominant, more logical anyway. So it's like, okay, that works. For us, we are left and right dominant. Our brains, the membrane that connects those two parts is so much stronger of a connection. So for us, telling us to tone down and mask down, that superpower of ours is really disruptive to the way that we are created. And it causes a little bit of confusion, and it causes us to feel lost, like we don't know who we are. And that's why you see so many women, young girls especially, without that masculine to reinforce the beauty in her femininity, right? Without that father figure to do that for her and tell her she's a princess and tell her all these things are good, the world gets to define that for her. And she's still in this internal turmoil of do I trust my intuition, do I trust my body, or no, mask it, shut it down, be quiet. Okay? So for us, it's always going to be how we feel, and that's not necessarily quantifiable. That's not something that's numerical. It's not clear-cut data. So when we're taking up so many words to describe how we experience something, it's because it's not a numerical number. How are you feeling today, Bonnie? I can't just say 8. I want to say, well, when I woke up, my body, or in my head, I felt this. And we want to go into detail with that because we want you to feel and fully understand us. But this world wasn't cut out for that. This world doesn't want to hear a lot of that, right? We weren't taught to transmute energies. We weren't taught what to do with it, right? We were taught negative emotions, negative energy, just tone it down, mask it, and ignore it. So we didn't learn how to transmute negative emotions, right? Or we learned how to suppress them, and we learned how to eat, right? We didn't learn how to explore and process these wide range of emotional experiences that we have. And so when it comes to feminine communication, right, it goes off of our intuition. And intuition requires, it demands, it is coupled with emotional intelligence. And if you're gonna be full in that, it's gonna be emotional intelligence, intuition, and integration. These things go, like, they are inseparable. And it's not a linear process for a lot of us women, right? It's not linear. And also intuition, right? It's not a linear process, number one. Number two, your intuition is not your first thought. And this is what confuses a lot of people when you tell them trust their intuition, because it's been said like that your intuition is your first thought. And I just want to, if you've been taught that, I want to give you this reality check. Your first thought in your brain, like how I just said, it's not linear, it's not. When you think of your brain and you think of thoughts that you have, think of them like the algorithm. This is my favorite metaphor to use. Think of it like the algorithm, whether it's Instagram or whether it's Facebook. The algorithm is going to show you what it thinks that you like, what it thinks you want to see, what it thinks that you want to experience. And you have the choice between staying on the post and reading the caption, and the longer you stay on it, the algorithm is gathering data like, oh, she likes this. And if you like it, it's like, oh, she really likes this, especially if you stop to read it. And if you save it and if you share it, the algorithm's like, wow, she really felt this, cool. And so this is how your brain works. Your first thought doesn't always equal your intuition. Your first thought is simply like the algorithm on social media. Your brain shooting you a thought, hey, let's see how this goes. And if you stay on it and if you entertain it, then it's like, oh, these are the things that she wants to think. On the other hand, if your first thought comes up and it's not aligned with you and you don't agree with it, and you listen to how that thought sits in your body and how it rests and how it makes you feel, and you reject it, right? Like, yeah, no, that doesn't even make sense. Ew, get out of here. Now you're learning to decipher your intuition. A lot of us don't do that. We've been taught things like, oh, your first thought is your intuition. Well, what if your first thought says, I'm ugly and I'm stupid and I'm never getting married? Right? And again, your brain is just playing the game of the algorithm. Like, well, she thought that thought once before. Let me shoot it back at her and see if she still likes it. And it's your job to say no. But we've been so cut off from listening to what feels good and what feels right. We just listen to what we're told. Especially if you grew up in religion. Like, I'm trying not to go too hard on religion, but guys, like, it is so real how much we've been taught to deny who we truly are and what we really feel, because we have to stay in a box. And when you are a wild, free, like fully embodied female, like trying to stay in a box just does not work. I don't care what your religious beliefs are. And I see so many women struggle with this, and it's so frustrating. That's why I feel so called to talk about it more rather than just experience it for myself. Like, I'm going to experience it. I'm going to share with you what I'm learning, and hopefully it gives you a sense of freedom so that you can step up and be more confident in your gifts instead of trying to mask them or trying to fashion them up to look like how a man thinks that you should be. You wonder why sometimes you don't get the respect or you don't get the doors open for you in the spaces that you go in, and it's because you're trying to do this when what they want from you is all of this. I played that game for too long. I'm done playing it. Thank you, Christine. My girl's here. Freaking love you, mama. Let me finish up here because I know I got sidetracked. So intuition is not linear. Intuition is not your first thought. Think of it like the algorithm. Your first thought doesn't mean it's intuition. It's just something your brain threw at you, and you get to pick whether you're going to stay on this thought or not. In fact, like when I do voice memos, which is how I communicate a lot of times, because you guys see how I am, just rather talk it out, or else you're about to get 1,000 typos that I don't have time to go fix. I will record something 2 to 3 times before I send it, because I want to make sure, like, hear it back, make sure it's communicating clearly and confidently what I want the person to get, and then also making sure that it's concise. They don't need every single thought I had along the way to get to the idea, unless it's my team. They do. You guys just need the meat and potatoes. And if more women would practice this, then we would have less of the incoherent babbling woman, right? I'm not putting women down that talk a lot. I'm a talker. But I don't know if you guys remember the movie Scooby-Doo, the live one, the first live one with Shaggy, the dude Matthew Lillard, or I think his name is, from the Scream movies and whatnot. And then with Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar, I say that right? They're a couple in real life, but they were on the Scooby-Doo movie. And that movie, I think it was the sequel, when they were making fun of Daphne, they were like, what's your gift to the group? All you do is, you're pretty and you incoherently babble. And that stuck with me, because I think of how quick some men that I interact with, not all men, are quick to kind of shut me up and not let me continue to talk, even if I'm saying something that is full of value, because they assume that I'm going to be the pretty girl that just incoherently babbles. And that stuck with me. It pierced my heart, but it also rang true, because I think of how many times when I hear a woman talking, and if I can tell she's not clear or confident in what she's saying, I tune her out, because she's going around in circles trying to prove to herself and to me that she believes what she's saying. And I feel like that comes from a lack of intuition, because the word intuition literally means to be in tune with. Intuition, in tune with. And so when I see myself doing that, or when I see other women doing that, I'm like, oh man, mama, slow down, take some time to go within and get in tune with. because the more time that we spend with ourselves and getting in tune with and getting aligned and integrated with our emotions, it'll be easier for us to communicate with clarity, right? Your ability to communicate confidently and with clarity is going to come from you being grounded within with who you are, and that's going to help strengthen your intuitive powers. So, ladies, the moral of all this is, yeah, we're going to talk more than them, because we're gonna explain the emotions. We're gonna explain intuition. It's not a 1, 2, 3, good, bad, yes, no. We are all about areas in between, and so that's gonna look a little more fluid, and that's okay. However, if you do want to step into a version of yourself that is able to do all of that and communicate it clearly and with confidence, there's no way around it. You got to go within more. There's no book, there's no workshop. Like, that's something that you have to do. Slow down, take the time to spend with yourself so you can hear who she is and what she was put on this earth to do. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today. That was just something that I felt I should speak on this Sunday, beautiful morning. If this resonated with you in any way, or topics like this, I would love to invite you to the Lead Like a Goddess free workshop. It's a lunch and learn that I'll be doing here locally in Orlando. I'm going to try to get it set up so that it can be live streamed, because I know a lot of my family, my network, my community, we are abroad, and I think that some of this is going to be super valuable for so many women. So if you'd like to hear more on that, if you're on Instagram, the link in my bio, it should be the very first link when you click it, and it'll help you RSVP for that event. And if you are not local, or if you're on Facebook, I'll drop the link in the comments. And then for everyone, if you're not local and it's still something you want to attend, comment on this video or shoot me a DM, because if I get enough demand for it, I'll go ahead and get the setup ready for that to make sure that you guys can be a part of that. Ladies, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time on The Boss Life of Glow.